Morning, good afternoon, good evening, right? I don't know if you're joining me from the States, from China, from Europe, or from Africa. So that's why I have to cover all of it. So how are you doing today? So have you been looking at the news on Friday? Not. So if not looking at the news, let me tell you what happened, which I found interesting. So you had obviously the U.S. president, Mr. Joe Biden, who was completing his journey in Europe, right? And on Friday, with the I think Ursula, I think it's von der Leyen, they've announced the a deal between the U.S. and the EU to provide gas to Europe, right? So this is one of Europe's strategy to mitigate the reliance towards Russia. And I found it very interesting. So I asked myself, hmm, so what about Africa? Can Africa actually take advantage of the situation as well to position itself? So what do you think? Is it a fair question to ask? This is what I want us to discuss today. Again, hello and welcome. So if that's your first time in our channel, so my name is Tony Teo, founder and CEO of Renewable in Africa, your global clean energy champion. And the purpose of this channel is very simple. So we're here to give you as much information as possible to demystify the renewable energy system for you, right? So that it makes sense and you understand that and correlate that with the different events that are happening. Because I say renewables energy doesn't evolve in isolation. It's part of a bigger industry, which is energy, which is part of another bigger industry, which is obviously economy, which is part of obviously the whole society. So how does all of it or do all of it correlate? And today we're going to be talking about this subject. And if that's your first time again, so make sure that you subscribe right to the channel. So the good thing is that we actually broadcasting from 4 channels. We have LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and also what's it? LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. There's one that I'm missing. All of a sudden. Uh YouTube, obviously. How can I forget that? Yeah. So make sure that you subscribe to one of those channels and definitely the YouTube as well, because that's allow you every time we have a video to be notified that we're going live, right? And that'd be great. And also, as you do it, so drop a comment so that I know what you think. So let me know whether you like it, don't like it, if you want a topic or want to talk about this topic, or maybe not this topic, another topic, and let me know and we can share that with you, right? And that's good. And also share that, spread that with people that you know. So I love when I actually go live and I have some people also looking at it live and just giving us as well their line of thought, right? And we can compare that with mine, right? Just as I speak right now, for example, I have one comment that just arrived, yeah, which is Joseph Nkrumah from Ghana. Hey Joseph, great to have you. Make sure that you drop me a question at the end, right? Because I want to respond to your question. Okay, now, gentlemen and ladies, let's go back to our discussion. So the question that I'm asking today for us is, can Africa solar help solve the EU energy crisis? A very interesting point, right, to discuss. But before I go into that, it's good to sort of set the scene a little bit, right? So that we can fully understand, make sure that we fully understand why is that I'm asking the question. Because all of us, we know that for more than a month now, we know what's happened in the eastern part of Europe, right? But we also know that that has had major consequences for all of us, across the globe, right? So the situation is, we now all know that Russia, uh, uh, we now know that Russia, it's a big supplier of gas for EU, right? Russia is providing 40% of the gas to the EU. And if you're looking at what kind of quantity that is, that's about 155 billion cubic meter of gas that Russia is giving to the EU. And as we saying that, right? So this is a huge quantity, and obviously, with the situation that's happened, so EU has been looking at sort of mitigate on reduce significantly that reliance on gas from Russia, and they've been looking at other options. And we know that 155 billion cubic meter of gas, that's significant, right? That's really, really an important amount. That represented about 45% of the EU gas imports. That was 2021. And this figure is actually coming from the IEA, which is the International Energy Agency. And that was about 40% of the total gas consumption. Okay, so that's what we know. And we also know that if we're looking at the or maybe we don't know that much, but doing some research, if you're looking at the money that's coming out of it, we look at the oil receipt that is coming from that exchange. In fact, what I found out is, in fact, the biggest money that Russia is getting from Europe is actually from oil. The oil receipt, that the oil receipt perceived by Russia, if you're looking at that, it's about $285 million, per day that Russia is making, from the trade of oil between Russia and then and the EU. And that's actually information that coming from a think tank that is called Transport and Environment, and they published that very recently. And if we're looking at that, so that means so that this is $104 billion a year that Russia is receiving from crude oil trade with Europe, right? That's the export that they have in Europe, and that was reported as of last year, and that's actually 2 times more than the gas receipt. So the gas bill is already big, which is 40% of what Europe needs come from Russia. But what we're saying is basically um that 40% of gas, it's only $43 billion. But if you're looking at the oil money, it's bigger than that. It's 104, which is very, very significant. So we're talking about big money here. And the reason I'm talking about that is because for us to better analyze the new deal that the EU has signed with the US, right? So it's good to understand, obviously, what does it represent in terms of money, because obviously you always heard that a lot. So you have to follow the money to properly understand what is really at stake. So going forward, on Friday, the US and the EU announced a major deal, right, for liquefied natural gas. So that means they were going to transport the gas from the US shore to the EU shore, right? So that's by sea. That's an attempt for Europe, as I say, to cut their reliance on Russian energy. And that's a major, major deal, right? And this is equivalent to about 10% of the gas that Europe is getting from Russia. So that's actually the value of the deal, right? The way they've extended. And they want to make sure that at least an equivalent of 10% of what they were receiving from Russia is coming out from the US before the end of 2022. That's what is important. You can see how things are being accelerated. And this is what I was saying. Every time there is a crisis, clearly as well, there is an opportunity for somebody. And that's what you need to understand. And this new deal, when we're looking at that, right? So in fact, it's not only US which is part of the mix. So Europe is looking at different other suppliers of gas as well, right? And I can tell you, for example, that Germany has been, I think, signing as well a deal with Qatar, which is another big gas supplier, right? Because they're looking at all of that. And if you're looking at the deal that EU has signed with the US and other country, so they're looking at pumping an additional 15 billion cubic meter of gas on top of the 22 billion cubic meter of gas that they are receiving already. And this quantity, which is about 37 billion cubic meter, represent about 24% of the amount that they are receiving from Russia. So clearly they are speeding up things just to make sure that they can cut that reliance. And the aim really of this whole new strategy to reduce the reliance on Russian gas is to go up to 50 billion of cubic meter for every year. So that's what we know. And those 50 billion cubic meter, if you're looking at what the 40% of Russian gas represent right now. The 50 billion, that's about a third, right? Because I told you at the beginning that the amount that the EU was receiving from Russia was 155 billion cubic meter. So we're talking about a third here, which is very, 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 very significant. So this is where I was actually. So we're talking about big money here, and because we're talking about that big money, so that's what I was saying. Listening, I think usually when a situation is already in place, it's difficult to break it to break it up, isn't it? Right? Because if you're looking at doing everything is already in place, nobody's going to change it because everything works well. But when there is a crisis, that's where we have opportunity, and that's where you can actually position yourself. So that's why I was actually start thinking and asking myself, so can Africa as well be part of the deal, right? Can Africa be looking as well, taking advantage? Obviously, nobody is supporting the situation what's happening at the moment, right? It'd be difficult to back it up. Obviously not. And usually, like I do on those live, I don't really want to dive into the politics side of the thing because it's usually a lot more complex than what we could see. So I don't want to I don't want to dive into that, right? That's something for people that are much more capable than me. For me, let's just look at from the energy side where we're standing. Can Africa actually take advantage of that? Right? We know we have many countries that have gas. Obviously, they will be they could position themselves. But I was even thinking about talking about renewable energy because one thing that the continent has, it's a huge reserve for any type of raw material and also resources, including clean energy. Can Africa position itself in order to also be part of the deal? Because at the moment, the European continent is looking for new suppliers, right? And that's why I was asking the question. So you may think that is a little bit of a silly question. Not so much. And I'll tell you why. For the simple reason that, in fact, this is not a new idea. Let me show you something that happened some time ago, and you will understand better what I'm talking about. Okay, hopefully I'm able to find it. Yeah. One second. Yep, that's it. Let me share this. Okay, this is an article from that's actually Der Spiegel, German newspaper. Obviously, a reference there, very reputed, and they were talking about already whether the solar capture from the Sahara Desert can actually save Europe, right? And we're talking about an article that was published. Look at that, 3rd of December 2009, some time ago. So what I'm saying here, it's nothing new. It was already something that was discussed some time ago. But for obvious reason, as you could see, if we're not talking about that anymore, so that means it hasn't happened, right? The project was called Desert Tech, right? But let me tell you more about this project, Desert Tech. So, as I said, one second, let me just come back to my screen. I want to make sure that I see you. Yeah. So the project is the Desert Tech. Yeah. So this is not a new idea, as I was looking to tell you. So that's something that we that has already been discussed, but it did not happen at the time. So let's come back to that for a second to understand why it did not happen, and then what was really at stake here. So the project was called Desert Tech, and the whole it was actually launched by a company called Desert Tech Initiative. I forget what is the second I stand, what the second I stands for, but that's fine. I think probably an international initiative, something like that. But the whole idea was obviously, as you know, the EU always has always had a long-standing objective, right, to decarbonize the economy, right, and they were looking at the time that was about 2009 at topping up, the renewable energy production by exporting solar power from North Africa, and obviously the flagship project was the Desert Tech one, which is obviously it's Desert Tech Industrial Initiative, and it was launched in 2009, and you have 12 companies that were involved, right? Looking to finance it and to develop solar project across the Sahara Desert. So it was a massive project, a massive undertaking, as you can imagine, right? And we're talking about 400 billion euros to build it, yeah? And that was going to provide 15% of Europe electricity need. So yeah, with power imported from high voltage cable. So the project obviously didn't happen, clearly not, and it's sort of it got stopped about 10 years ago, in November 2012, when obviously two of the major investors, we have Siemens and Bosch, they put out of the project. So it's fair to say that this was a German-led initiative. So the reason I'm bringing that back up here, because like I said, the situation is very different. And even if I'm looking at the reason, the obstacle that killed that project, so you could see that clearly. I think we can ask ourselves a question now whether such an initiative could be, let's say, better positioned to respond to the situation, because we don't have the same environment anymore. We don't have the same situation anymore. So the first major objective, as you can imagine, was the fact that it was too expensive. Yes, 400 billion at the time, 2009, right? So you can imagine if inflation is a lot more than that, maybe we would have doubled by now. So that's a lot of money, obviously. But the question is, with regard to where Europe is standing at the moment, where we're fast tracking the strategy and completely changing suppliers here, you start asking, if such a project was in place at the time, right? It would have been a different situation, right? And the question you're now asking, with everything that has been done in with the speed it's going at, so the sort of money that the continent is spending, you start wondering, so does it still make sense to say that such a project will be too expensive? Because actually what we're saying here is you are putting together a project that can guarantee a little bit of security in terms of energy, right? So too expensive, and there wasn't a strong business case. Is it still the case when we're looking at what's happening right now? So I'm not sure we can still say the same thing, right? So it's important to re-evaluate it. And another strong criticism was the fact that the at the time people, and that was true, was saying that there wasn't a strong business case as well, because in general Europe could supply 90% of their power demand, which was still the case, because like I say, there was a deal that was in place. But at the moment, as I say, so that deal looks a lot more flimsy. That's why you see the European leaders moving, left, right, and center to find alternative. So we can't say that 90% of power being met or the power being properly secure is still the case. Yeah. So clearly there's there's an avenue there that could be exploited, because even that second criticism, as I say again, doesn't really stand these days. The third one, which is a little bit ethical, which clearly I understand where it comes from, is the fact that how can we say or consider, and I'm sure many of you may be thinking the same thing, and that's normal. That's normal. So let's discuss about it openly. The question, the concern was, how can we talk about Africa helping solving Europe energy issue when Africa, in the first place, can't even provide enough energy for their own consumption? Valid question, I have to say, because we talk about electricity access, with the continent having just what, 54% electrified. There's still a massive 48% that don't have power. That's a valid question. So let me provide a response that could be a little bit intuitive. So I would say, why the concern is true. Clearly, we need to be looking at that. Clearly, we need energy access for the continent. At the same time, if I may want to play devil advocate, I would say, whoa, that scheme that we talking about potentially putting in place, we're doing it anyway. If we're looking at the raw material that come from Africa, right? So it's not like the raw material are properly supplied to the local market before we sell it to people outside. No, we're doing it. You have a few countries, a number of countries, the exporter of oil and gas. but they ending up, buying that back when it's all refined. So we're doing it anyway, right? The model is there anyway. So why can't we do just the same for solar? That's the question. Just to say that, if you're just holding that argument, for that argument to stand, we need to apply the exact same argument for everything else. Otherwise, we're doing it anyway. And the second point I'm just going to say to that is, and I'm saying that because I'm in the sector. So, I've been in the sector for more than a decade now. And then looking at all the different, I would say, subsectors, talking about utility scale, talking about mini grid or off grid or CNI, where we kind of focus on. And our company specialize now on providing power to businesses. Yeah, I've seen that. And what I can tell definitely, as well as the local players, especially from the officials of the countries and investors, everybody talks about big projects. You always hear that the bigger the better. Well, listen, what I'm saying is such an initiative will be a huge undertaking involving so many projects. So those are big projects. So obviously that would interest people, right? So that can be an incentive that is used to develop the markets at international level for export, but also locally. And this is where we can simply learn from Desert Tech and say that, okay, if Desert Tech was simply looking at taking power and exporting that, we can just say, okay, so the local player could be a little bit clever and say, okay, get power, we want to export it, but at the same time, making sure that on the way to export it, we also make sure that we strengthen the local market. Why? Simply because we have bigger, massive project that means lots of money, get those economy of scale into place, build a local supply chain, and just finding out how could we take advantage of those massive projects to develop the local market. That's the way to look at it. And after that, yes, we can then respond to the question. So this is what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So I don't know if there's anybody from the African Union here, AFDB, listening. I know there's already project on the go, but I'm just saying with what's happening in Europe, it could be an opportunity, right, for us to exploit it. I'm just going to leave it at that. So last but not the least, I just want to mention that very quickly and briefly, because I talked about those solar projects that could be used developing the continent for export. One of the key problem is the fact that developing those projects takes a lot of time, a lot of money. And I just want to mention that very quickly, briefly, right? Just say that recently, to tackle this specific project, so developing the solar project, structuring them. So we've been part of an initiative called PV Data. And PV Data, it's a very innovative, interesting tool that allows us to deploy and design solar project very, very quickly. Yeah. And we've run a webinar just to demonstrate people how it works, because we're working very closely with the team, as being part of the team. And I'm just going to say, if you haven't done it yet, you definitely want to download it. So let me just first of all drop the link here. So PV Data. So that's there. So as I say, the key thing with that, so it's a solar design, it's a software design that allow you to structure your project very quickly in about a minute or so. You get already a full comprehensive report where we can look at the financial aspect, the design aspect, the environmental aspect, the social aspect, and the economic aspect, right? You get all of that in just, as I say, half a minute. And that's brilliant. So I can just show you very quickly how it look like. And after that, I'll open the floor for questions. Yeah. So this is the software that you see here, the website, right? PV Data. So you can go there, you can download it for free. Make sure that you try it for yourself, and I'd be surprised if you don't come to like it. And let me just share as well something else very quickly. So as you go and run your trial version. So if I just share that, oh, let me show. Yep, yep. If I share that, I just want to share. That's how the interface is looking like. Hopefully, you can see the interface. So let's imagine you want to go for a project in Spain. You select it, yeah. So city. I'm just gonna say Saragossa. No way. That's what coming to my mind. Yeah, currency that would be euro. So you see, it's very very easy to use. European euro. I'm not gonna run all that for you. but you can call it, I don't know, Spain, yeah, project, so on and so forth, and you carry on do it. So basically, so yeah, choose a PPA provider. So already here, uh, Iberdrola, you go there, you complete that. If you don't want to compare everything, you just put on default value. It comes up at already pre-filled, and you just get all the rest of it. So I'm not going to go through all of it. I'm just going to show you quickly how the interface is looking like. And as I say, so once you run it for yourself, you know, you'll come up with a full detailed comprehensive report. Like I say, all of that, you can go through that literally in less than a minute, and you have something that's already determined. And that really, for me, will really, really help you fast tracking the deployment of this solar project. So that was just a tangent I definitely wanted to share with you, because I know some people have been asking me questions about that. Was to mention that. And we've done as well a webinar. Make sure that you look at that. We can send you the link as well, so you know where to find it. So that's about it for me. Now, coming back to the question, do you really think? So, what I've given you my opinion, right? So, how I think we can actually look at the question. What do you think? Do you think that Africa should be part of the deal, engaging with Europe to see how we can actually use our resources, clean energy resources, to provide also power to Europe, and in the meantime, taking advantage to develop the sector? You let me know what you think. Now, I'm open to your question. But before I do that, I just want to see if my friend Oluwajuwere is connected. Oluwach, are you connected? Maybe you be the first to respond to the question. Oluwach, are you connected? I can't hear him. I don't know whether he will be connected. Oluwach? Okay. What I do, so I can see there was a number of feedback from you. Let me just go through that, and I can see if I can pick up some question and respond to that. So okay, one second. Always say that. He said Mike he has this issue with the microphone. Can you have another go? Okay. You should be able to join. No, one second. I see. Okay, Oluwach, I don't know. I don't know why. It's probably gonna look at that later. So yeah. So what you can do, if you don't mind, Oluwach, then you can just send me the question in the comment, and I'll read that. So it looks like, yeah, we will have a look at that later, because unfortunately I don't know why. That's the thing when you're going live. Yeah, so it doesn't always work as uh as you expect. Okay, so let me pick up the comment here. So somebody here from Qatar saying that from Qatar, and I have some technology. Okay, brilliant. If you have some technology, excellent. So that means the we can all benefit from that. So I think I'll be more keen people have questions. For the rest, you can feel free to reach out to me. We can discuss. Yeah, but yeah, we've been approached by many people that have technology that want to bring into the continent. We appreciate that. Great. Always happy to engage, and we can take this question on the side if this is okay with you, right? But thank you for asking, for dropping a comment. So the other one, I think Africa can assist Europe with their energy crisis. However, their energy problem currently in Africa. South Africa supplies energy to its neighbor, but South Africa themselves struggling with supply. Yeah, exactly. So that's a typical example, I would say, to take the excuse of saying because we don't have enough energy for ourselves, we can't sell it. I would say if we were to do that, then you do have no trade between countries. And don't forget that part of the reason that we can deploy energy or provide energy to everybody is financial. And those trade usually is a lot of money involved. And usually export usually much more interesting monetary wise, financial wise than the import, right? So that's what I'm saying. You know, you can have a strategy whereby you export part of it, getting the receipt to develop your local market. So something worth considering. So I definitely agree with this comment. So thank you for that. So let me have another one and say I agree with you. That's okay. Abdul was responding to the person before. I agree with your assertion, But if Africa is looking to turn its economic fortune right now, is the time. And what better than, okay, solar? Okay, I think we agree with that, Abdul. So clearly, there's a, like I say, the Sahara Desert. There is a huge amount of of solar power there. So how can we tap into that to make sure that we can respond to African needs? So okay, I can see what there was a very 100%. I agree with you 100%, my brother. And solar is not the only way to produce clean energy. With results, material throughout, there's not a cheaper way to produce support yours. Okay. Uh, Whoa, I think if you could develop, that would have been good. I don't see any question here, but I can see people having conversation. Let me see if I can see some questions. Yeah. So, but that was a very great discussion between Abdul and this other gentleman. So I don't know if it's a lady or gentleman, but yeah. So I can see they have lots of. But let me see if I can pick up a question. Team one. Okay, yeah. Good day, my friend. How you doing? Excellent to see you. Run, Forest, run. I love it. So, which country in Africa have the funding to support such a large infrastructure? The response is none. No country has the funding to support. Clearly, such a project will need to involve the African partners. So you're talking about EU, you're talking about the US, potentially some country in Asia, and then and in Africa, I can see large bank, the biggest bank, which is AFGB. They definitely will get involved. But the country that would be concerned, those are countries that are close to the Sahara Desert and most likely initially North Africa. Why? Because they are closer to Europe than the rest of than the rest of the continent. So you'll be talking of Algeria, Tunisia, Morocco, and then and Libya, and so on and so forth. So these are the places that I could think of. So yeah, so that's what I would say to respond. So okay, so yeah, and after that, I'm just seeing lots of comments, but I don't see any question per se. But yeah, so uh, it's good to see. It's good to see, and I appreciate that. So okay, you have I don't think there's any question, but that's what I could say for today. I could see there was lots of reaction, which I love. I love seeing that. I love to see people that are taking part in the conversation. So let me know what you think. So keep those conversations, keep those comments coming. So and tell me as well. So what kind of other topic would you want me to talk about? Because the whole idea of having those sessions with you is to have that chat, that discussion. So let me know what you're talking about, and we can sort of move that forward. So does it work like that for you guys? Is it okay? Okay. So that's all we can discuss for today, and definitely check PV data, download it, run it, and if you're interested further, so let us know. Come back to us because we have some interesting potential deals that could be of interest to you. So, I have one last question as I was about going. Do you think that the IMF will assist? Oh, obviously, the IMF will definitely jump into a project like that because those are massive. Because if you look at Desert Tech, we were talking about, we're talking about okay, okay, because Desert Tech, we're talking about 400 billion. Oh, um, no single investor will have such an amount. So yes, I would imagine people like IMF will definitely get involved. So yeah, that's that's what I can say. So just have one last guy saying, "Great session." So thanks for that. I enjoy myself, right? So and that's the whole point, having this conversation with you, discussing about topic, and see how we take it from there. So okay. What's it? Share this link. What link are you talking about? Okay, I think that's not for me. Yeah, people discussing, people networking. That's good. People networking in the session. Brilliant, guys. I love it. Pin message. Let me see, guys. Thank you very much for all your response. Yeah. So and your comment. I really really do enjoy it. I like when it's interactive like that. So and last thing I want to say, make sure that you share that with other people. So I have Hamid from Morocco saying that, you know, thank great session from Morocco. Yeah, thank you for attending. Yeah, Morocco is a big part of it anyway because of desert tech. By the way, I should mention that very quickly. One small part of desert tech was actually involving the newer project, and which is now a reality in Morocco, right? Which is I think it's 600 megawatt project, CSP project, which is already now operational in Morocco. In fact, just to let you know, that was part of the bigger part. So clearly, Morocco. Yep, exactly. So, guys, okay, I gotta run now. Usually, we all don't. I also don't want to get those questions, those sessions too long. I don't want to eat all of your Sunday afternoon. But pleasure to talk to you. Definitely check PV data for me. Share that. So download the software. So have a go and then look at it because that, as I say, in one software you can definitely replace your PV6, your Helioscope and Homer. So all of that in just one package. It's brilliant, guys. Pleasure, fantastic having you connected. So this is Tony Tio from Renewables in Africa, your global clean energy champion. And all I have to say is, may the sun be with you. And Mr. Oluwat, Oluwat, it looks like, do I have you now? Or does it still not work? I just wanted to say on the go. Because poor man, he was just waiting for me, but I couldn't get him to speak. Oluwat? Nah, one. Nah, that's fine. We better connect for next week. So that's the thing when you're having live sessions, right? So somebody say PV data. Yes, my friend. I've given you the link. Yeah, you want me to drop you again here? That's it. Look at that. Just if you can do that, so that'd be good. Yeah. As I say, go there, check that. It's a solar software design. So, bro, those are for grid connected projects. And then, as I say, in less than a minute, it allows you to fully structure a project, right? So you can look at you can get you enter your input, and you can get your financial data, so environmental, social, economical, and also design. So definitely make sure that you check it out and let us know what you think. Yeah, excellent. So does it work now? Excellent. Can I go? Guys, it's been a pleasure. Yeah. So you all of you be blessed and have a blessed Sunday as well. So excellent. Take care, guys. Bye.